Okay, good evening. Welcome to the annual Baltimore City Council Taxpayers Night. Thank you. Taxpayers Night provides the public with an opportunity to comment on the following bills. It's going to be City Council Bill 26-0188, the ordinance of estimates for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2027. Also, Council Bill 26-0189, annual property tax fiscal year 2027, and Council Bill 26-0200, operating budget for the Baltimore City Board of School Commissioners for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2027 for their operating budget. This is a meeting of the Baltimore City Council's Budget and Appropriations Committee. I'm Councilwoman Danielle McCray. I'm also chair of the committee, and I'm a representative of the 2nd District. Tonight, I'm joined by our City Council President, Zeke Cohen, also committee members, council member, it's actually our vice chair, Yitzi Schleifer, representing the 5th District, and Vice President of the City Council, Sharon Green Middleton, representing the 6th District. Council Member Paris Gray, representing the 8th District. We're also joined by Council Member Mark Parker of the 1st District, Council Member Mark Conway of the 4th District, Council Member James Torrance of the 7th District, Council Member John Bullock of the 9th District, Councilwoman Felicia Porter, representing the 10th District, Council Member Zach Blanchard of the 11th District, Council Member Jermaine Jones of the 12th District, and Councilwoman Odette Ramos of the 14th District. And my apologies, my favorite, Councilman Ryan Dorsey of the 3rd District. Also in attendance, we have a host of representatives from the City Council President's Office, the Mayor's Office, the Office of Council Services, and tonight's staffer from Council Services is Paroma Nandi. For those who are attending City Hall, just as a reminder, please take a moment to silence your cell phones and any electronic devices that you may have at this time. I would like to note that everyone testifying tonight, obviously you're here because you care about our city, you're invested in our city, and you feel strongly about some aspects of this year's budget. The testimony may at times be passionate. It is expected that members of the City Council and members of the public will be keeping order tonight, and we're going to ensure that everyone does have an opportunity to be heard. Anyone who is disruptive will be asked to leave. Taxpayers Night is designed for the City Council to listen to public input. Your comments tonight, along with other written and verbal testimony and information received from agencies during their individual hearings, will guide our budget decisions. While the council will not respond to testimony or any questions this evening, we may ask clarifying questions if necessary. Also, if necessary, I may make a statement to direct a member of the public to the appropriate city services. Before we get started, I just want to clarify 3 points at the top of the hearing, just in hopes that we can head off any confusion. The mayor and the city council are not proposing an increase in real property tax rates. The proposed real property tax rate is $2.248 per $100 of assessment, the same as the previous fiscal year. Number 2, the recommended fiscal year 2027 budget bill is crafted by the mayor and his team, but the city council has not yet made any changes nor amendments to the budget bill. The recommended fiscal year 2027 operating budget has been recommended at $3.95 billion, and this is an increase of $254 million from the fiscal year 2026 adopted budget. The capital plan is recommended at $1.07 billion, and this is an increase of $139 million from the fiscal year 2026 adopted capital plan. The Baltimore City Board of School Commissioners approved the Baltimore City Public Schools fiscal year 2027 operating budget on May 5th, 2026. State law requires Baltimore City Schools to submit their budget to the mayor and city council. Before we get into public testimony, I would like to recognize City Council President Zeke Cohen for any remarks at this time.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you to all of the public for coming out this evening. I also want to thank my colleagues. Taxpayer Night is, weirdly enough, my favorite night of the year because we get to hear from you. And I think we're in a moment where our democracy is on the ropes across the United States of America. And so to have some time where we get to just listen and process, and where residents of this great city in this moment where Baltimore is seeing record reductions in homicide, and where we're turning the corner on our housing strategy and on so many of the issues that we've all fought for, there's something deeply moving and powerful about it. And for folks who do not think it matters, I would point to last year where this council heard from our communities. We heard the crisis facing our immigrant neighbors, and we moved $1 million to support our Office of Immigrant Affairs. We moved money for zero waste. We moved, was it $2 million? $2 million for our immigrant community. We moved significant funding to support zero waste. We moved significant funding to support public safety. And so I will never accept the premise that the voices of the people do not matter. They absolutely do. With that, I am so excited for this evening. Thank you again to the chair who's been conducting a great series of hearings in this budget committee, and I look forward to hearing from all of you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. We're going to turn to a brief presentation from the Bureau of Budget and Management Research within our Department of Finance at this time.
Okay, good evening. My name is Bob Senemy, Deputy Finance Director. And just to kick off the event tonight, we just wanted to give a very brief presentation just with a high-level overview of what we're recommending in the fiscal 2027 budget. So we'll get through this quickly so we can hear from input from our residents. So, it's not going, there we go. Okay, so our overall recommended budget for this year, as was mentioned, we have a $3.95 billion operating budget. And think of the operating budget, that's the side of the budget that funds the normal daily business of the city. It covers programs, services, it covers staff. That's a 6.86% increase versus the fiscal 26 budget. And then we're also proposing a $1.07 billion capital budget. And again, capital budget is more for infrastructure. It is the things, it's the major projects or replacements of our infrastructure is funded on that side of the budget. You can see about 78% of the budget is operating, 21% capital, for a total of $5.02 billion this year. So a couple of highlights that we wanted to mention. One is just the economic resilience of the city. Even despite all of the challenges we see around us at the state level, federal level, and even internationally now, the city's economy has been pretty resilient. Our two largest revenue sources, property tax and income tax, are showing significant growth in fiscal 27. Again, just showing that even with what we have around us, the city economy is doing fairly well. Number two is we have an extraordinary level of capital investment this year. I mentioned over $1 billion in our capital budget, but about $337 million of that is backed by the general fund, either with general obligation bonds, pay-go capital, or using highway user revenue, which comes from our state government. That more than triples the average of the previous 20 years. So this is truly an extraordinary level with a lot of things funded in this year's capital budget. And then I'll say again, point three, we're maintaining our core services, and we are funding a handful of enhancements, a couple of which I'll mention this year. Again, trying to target investments to programs where we think we're seeing significant impact. Also wanted to mention that we launched our 10-year financial plan last December. You should go on our website and check it out. There's a total of 85 initiatives that we're working on implementing over the next 10 years. We've organized it around 3 cornerstones, and if we were to deliver on all those, we would generate a combined over $1 billion of either net savings or new revenue over that 10-year period. So encourage, again, this is brand new. We've just started implementing some of these initiatives, would encourage folks to check it out to see what's more in our kind of long-term vision of how we best manage the city financially over the next decade. In terms of the revenue side of the budget, where it comes from, so our general fund is $2.8 billion. You can see on the left how the revenue sources break down. About 2/3 of our budget comes from, as I mentioned, property tax and income tax. And you can see the growth between 26 and 27 on property tax will be up about 5.6% and income 13.6%. So again, those are our 2 core revenue sources, and both of them have been performing very strongly so far in 26, and we think some of that will continue into 27. In terms of where the money goes, the total operating budget is $3.95 billion, and we organize our budget around what we call pillars. You can see those pillars on the left, and a breakdown on the right of how much of the money goes towards our general fund operating budget and enterprise fund and grants. Enterprise funds is largely the utility funds, water, wastewater, and stormwater, and grants, of course, is money we get from either the federal government, state government, or private source that usually has some kind of specific purpose that it's designated for. We are getting ready to release the city's new strategic plan. It should be coming within the next couple of weeks. We have revised our pillars this year. Just wanted to note that we added 1, modernizing public infrastructure. So we've typically had 5. We now have 6 in our plan. And again, just there's such an emphasis and such an importance on public infrastructure and having that in good shape in order for us to deliver quality city services. So that's a new one in this year's plan. There will also be performance metrics kind of for the citywide overall and performance metrics for each of our agencies, which you can see in our budget publications as well. In terms of just a quick couple of investments here, starting from the left, $16.5 million for Youth Works to fund 8,500 summer jobs. We have $4.3 million to sustain some of our violence prevention programs, which we think are working very well to bring down the violent crime rate in the city. $3 million to sustain our Clean Core program that started under ARPA, and we're getting very good feedback from residents about that, so we're bringing forward an abbreviated version of that program into the general fund. We're starting off a new economic development fund with $15 million of one-time resources. We have funding to support the new Office of Business Licensing and Consumer Protection. And then that final one, which is a little hidden, is around our capital budget, which I'll touch on in just a second. So again, capital budget spending, you can see the significant improvement this year, again, around us increasing our general obligation bonds, us having utilized some one-time resources and putting it all back into capital, and we're getting significant investment from the state via highway user revenue in fiscal 27, which is why we have a peak. This is the largest level of general fund backed sources over the last 20 years. Just in terms of learning more and how to interact with the budget. So we're now on May 14th. So we introduced the budget back in May. That has been introduced in City Council now. We have the taxpayer night. There will be a series of hearings, of course, for agency-specific questions to come up over that week of May 27th through June the 4th. And then the council has until 5 days before the end of the fiscal year to act on the fiscal 27 budget. If you want to read any of our operating budget publications, encourage you to check these out. These are all on our website. It's listed at the bottom, baltimorecity.gov/BBMR. The prelim is the budget that was released in April. The executive summary is the final budget that's in front of the council. The agency detail has all of the really nitty-gritty detail for each of our agencies in a lot more detail. So the executive summary is more of an overview. Agency detail, if you want to dive into individual agencies, is the best one to look at. And then to close, just wanted to give a couple highlights on that capital side of the budget since that's so significant this year. Again, the overall recommendation over $1 billion. Just a couple projects to highlight, $20 million to go towards a new youth sports complex, $12 million to replace our CAD system, $12.7 million of investment across solid waste facilities throughout the city. And I mentioned the Economic Development Fund and also $7 million for our new Downtown Rise program. and significant investment on even just the transportation side of things. You can see there funding for ADA compliance and sidewalks, bridges, street resurfacing, greenway network. Just want to again emphasize what a large investment this is in capital, the largest we've been able to make over the past 20 years. So I'll bring that to a close now so we can turn it over to resident input. Thank you for having me tonight, and we look forward to the next step in the budget process.
Thank you, Director Sonamy. Before we transition to our public testimony portion of this evening's hearing, I just want to quickly go over some guidelines regarding participation. We definitely want to make sure that everyone's voice is heard tonight. I do want to reiterate, if for any reason anyone is disruptive, you may be asked to leave. If you have signed up to testify online in advance of this evening's hearing, you will need to sign up outside of the council chambers within the sign-up sheets. They are still available outside the doors. When it is your turn, you will have 3 minutes to provide your testimony. Our moderators will let you know when your time has expired. If you need Spanish language or ASL interpretation, please indicate that on the sign-up sheet. Again, if you need Spanish language or ASL interpretation, please indicate that on the sign-up sheet. When it is your turn, I'm going to recognize you, and you may come to the podium here in front of the room. Please state your first and your last name and any affiliations, including any organizations that you're with, before you speak, so we can make sure that you're identified properly for the record. Remember to speak clearly into the microphone so that our interpreters and those watching at home can hear your remarks. Please note, we will not take virtual testimony during this hearing, nor will we permit individuals to read testimony on behalf of residents that are not present in the council chambers. Written testimony regarding the budget bills and a property tax bill may be submitted at any time prior to the final enactment. Again, the purpose of this evening is for us to listen to you and make sure that your voices are heard. And I may need to clarify, or someone may need to clarify a point at any time. At this time, we're going to begin with the public testimony. And we are going to start with Christina Flowers.
Oh, look at you. You so awesome. Don't be messing up my minutes. I got to talk to all 14 of them. Because I feel like I got a good relationship probably with -5 of y'all. Thank you to my council person in my business area, my council person in my living space, right? So I have to represent and speak about my homeless individuals. Why? Because this budget was increased a couple of $1 million, I guess I want to say. But I want y'all to look outside y'all door when y'all leave here tonight. I want y'all to look at Mr. Elliott and them that done formed up a whole encampment outside in y'all little circle there, the nice highlight. You know, you got Miss Dallas over here. You got a lot of individuals outside that need some emergency placement. And Council Odetta, you could tell them what emergency looked like when we was up on Greenmount. All your agencies was there, but they called Miss Flowers, and we saved the day. So I want y'all to think about emergency placement so we can stop pouring wasteful money into some of the same organizations over and over again that does not practice discriminative housing, basic things to help people to get off the streets. Put the money in organizations like the 8 that did not get no granting this year. I was one of them. I'm gonna constantly keep applying because I'm not asking. I'm trying to expand what God has given us 13 years to do in this city, to take people off the streets and triage them, not point fingers, not try to keep feeding and clothing. Thank y'all for the feeding and clothing in the community, but As Jermaine Jones knows, sometimes you have to have an emergency plan in place when y'all going up in vacant CVS's and people in there sleeping and in the afro, right on Miss Flowers' block. So I love you guys every day. Sharon Middleton, how are you, beautiful? John Bullock, all of you guys. I just want us to work together and make a budget that look more favorable for this nonprofit. Belvedere Real Care Providers, I think y'all hear about it a lot. So let's do something with that extra $10 million and put it in places that could be more effective. Because there's like waste and fraud and mismanagement, and we don't want to mix all of that up because we already got an issue with the Inspector General. So we need to count these dollars, okay? Can I get y'all to kind of work with me with that? And for the 5 of y'all that I don't really know a lot about, y'all got homeless pocket encampments in y'all districts too. I just haven't figured out which one is which and who took who place. Okay? All right, that's my time. Thank you, guys. Happy everything. Did my buzzer go off? I got some more time.
Thank you. Ms. Kim Trueheart?
Get a mentor.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm Kim Trueheart, for those who don't know me. I reside in Howard Park. Howard Park is represented here. Now, I've been accused of a lot of things, and very recently by our school system. And that's okay, I'll take it, because I was serving the community in ways that others don't want to serve the community. And guess what? I'm not changing. Just where I reside and where I provide those services. Somebody asked me, how many times have I been here? And it's been almost 15 years I've come to this council and ask you to please support some of the efforts of the neighborhood grassroots organizations. I've been fortunate to get funding to do what I do. Now, everybody that's provided the funds is happy with what I do. Just my former landlord, because I moved out as of Wednesday, yesterday, wasn't pleased. And again, that's okay. I'm not gonna please everyone, but I do serve a greater God and needs of the people in this city in ways that most of you don't necessarily agree with. But that's okay too. We need help. Now I'm gonna advocate as a senior citizen. I'm 69 years old. I deserve to be able to go to a public institution and get services. I can't do it in my neighborhood because the senior citizen facility is horrendous. The capital budget has over $1 million in it, $1 billion. I know we offloaded a lot of facilities in 2012 because you couldn't sustain them. But now they are desperate. You look at the Waxter Senior Center, you look at Liberty Forest Park Senior Center. Y'all gotta do better. You have to find the funding to support these senior centers and providing the services to people like me who need them. Thank you.
Thank you. Adam Golden.
Good evening. My name is Adam Golden. I'm a resident taxpayer advocate and public defender here in Baltimore City. I'm here on behalf of myself, not the Office of the Public Defender. In Baltimore City, 1 in 5 people live in material poverty. 1 in 4 children do. That's more than twice the state rate. As a public defender, every day I see the way we police poverty in this city. I watch body-worn camera of officers harassing our young people, chasing them down, threatening to shoot them. I watch as we incarcerate people who steal out of desperation to support their material needs and to support their family. We incarcerate others who are struggling with addiction. When it comes to the budget, there is always money to police poverty, but it seems there is never money to address, reduce, and ultimately eliminate it in our city. 2 years ago, we were told there is not enough money for a $14 million baby bonus that would have ensured every child born in this city had the resources that they needed to be successful on day one. $14 million. But the mayor's budget proposes $656 million for the Baltimore Police Department. That's an increase of more than $40 million from last year. Just last week, the Board of Estimates approved a $15.3 million per year no-bid contract for tasers and AI body camera for the Baltimore Police Department, and I thank the council president for voting no on that measure. We write a blank check for the Baltimore Police Department by approving their supplemental appropriation request every year, and we provide millions and millions of dollars in police overtime alone. A budget is a statement of our values, and year after year, our local government makes clear what its values are when it comes to those struggling in poverty. The council had a chance this year through the Charter Review Committee to expand its own authority over the budget, and it appears will ultimately choose not to do so. There are no more excuses for the council. The budget is largely the same year after year, and I know the DOF talked about the $5 billion that this city will spend this year. Moving money around, a 1 million here, 1 million there is not enough. I encourage this council to think boldly, to think differently, and ultimately put forth a budget that prioritizes the people of Baltimore and supports them and cares for them and doesn't just focus on policing them. Thank you.
Thank you. Regina Hammond.
Good evening, President, members of City Council, and administration officials. My name is Regina Hammond, founder and executive director of Rebuild Johnson Square Neighborhood Organization. First, I want to thank City Council for the opportunity to testify tonight regarding the city budget and the impact it has on communities like Johnston Square. Johnston Square has experienced significant redevelopment and revitalization over the last several years. Our residents have worked hard alongside nonprofit organizations, developers, city agencies, volunteers, and community partners to stabilize vacant properties, maintain green spaces, improve public safety, and create opportunities for families and seniors. However, with revitalization comes growing concerns about affordability and displacement. Many long-term residents, seniors on fixed incomes, working families, and legacy homeowners are increasingly worried about future property tax increases and whether they will be able to remain in the communities they help sustain during difficult times. We ask that the city to seriously consider stronger protections for long-time homeowners and seniors facing rising assessments. continued investment in community-led organizations that provide direct neighborhood stabilization services, increased support for public safety, sanitation enforcement, greening, and youth engagement, funding that reaches grassroots organizations doing the daily work on the ground, and policies that ensure development benefits existing residents, not just new investment. Organizations like Rebuild Johnson Square Neighborhood Organization stretch every dollar possible to support quality of life improvements, community engagement, volunteer coordination, youth opportunities, neighborhood safety initiatives. But community organizations cannot do this work alone without sustained support and equitable investment. We want Baltimore to grow and thrive, but growth must include the people who stayed, sacrificed, and fought for these communities long before redevelopment became attractive. Thank you again for the opportunity to testify tonight and for your continued service to the residents of Baltimore.
Thank you for your testimony. Xavier Stukes.
Hi, good evening, good evening. I know a lot of y'all probably kind of shook when you heard the last name Stukes. Have sort of a history here in this chamber. Should I raise this up? Okay, can you hear me? Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. I'm Xavier Stukes. I'm the CEO and now president of the Baltimore Rams, which is a youth and adult football organization. The Rams been in existence since 1950. I took ownership of the Baltimore Rams as being a former player. What we do as the Baltimore Rams is more than just football. It's community-based and it's community-related. Out of the 215 players that I've came across, and what we do as an organization, I have yet to lose a player to criminal act or going to jail. We put so much energy into what we do as a grassroots organization, because back in the 50s and 60s, the African Americans weren't allowed to play football on that professional level. They've competed against teams like the Baltimore Colts. We had representatives like Johnny Unitas. And just here recently, the president made a statement about Baltimore that kind of hurt my heart. We were the first team to ever be chosen to play an international football game. We competed against Mexico in 2023, which we won. We also was chosen to be the first team ever in the history of America to play in South Africa. And I thought, coming from Baltimore, that would be a significant and big deal to everybody, because we want to show the world that Baltimore is more than what people say it is. It's more than the Wire, because that's the only thing that they can equate us to. We looked for help for the last year and a half because we've been knowing about this. But as a grassroots organization, again, we weren't able to receive any help. I've emailed each and every one of you guys, more on multiple occasions. I finally got a meeting. I believe she's in here, Miss Gresham. I finally got a meeting with her just to be told that it's not in the budget. I think that something as significant as a team from Baltimore, young men who are already struggling in their homes, maybe in school or in college, that they could have the support of their city behind them to represent the country. And yeah, we asked for some money to help these guys fly from here to another country. I ask that you make sure that you put in your budget not only the people that you know and are acquainted with, but make sure that that money trickles down to the grassroots organizations, because we do a lot on this, on the ground. And I hope that it's still time. I hope you guys can actually help. Ms. Porter, I grew up in Cherry Hill. I come from Seagull Avenue, so you know the history. appreciate you guys' time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Margarita Santana.
I am not Margarita Santana. I'm Father Aku Walker. I'm the pastor at Sacred Heart of Jesus and a member of BUILD, to speak about the increase in funding for legal and mental care services for immigrants in the city of Baltimore. It is difficult for me to stand here to attempt to argue for a cause that is as clear as day, but such is the system in which we live. I know that the decision makers are acutely aware of the fear that has presently gripped the nation, but especially in Baltimore, with respect to the frenetic changes and inhumane application of immigration policies under the present administration. As a pastor, I'm seeing families being torn apart, and I'm seeing the daily anguish that builds without a semblance of ending. Further, hundreds of immigrants are being turned away because legal service providers no longer have the resources or the staff to meet the overwhelming demand. At the same time that more families are seeking help, federal funding for immigration legal services has been reduced and has become increasingly unreliable. For families trying to navigate a complicated and constantly changing immigration system, access to trusted legal counsel, it is not a luxury, but it is essential. And we may not realize it yet, but if we do not remedy this situation right now, we will indeed pay in years to come. The children of immigrants who were born in the United States and have their parents taken away from them, they will remember, for they are scarred and they will react. And this is why services for mental health care become so important and the funding increased. Opportunities for healing must be provided immediately and to all affected. In fact, it is already too late. I am not a prophet of doom and gloom, but I've seen in my previous life as a high school teacher the stark correlation between family life and the hyperreaction of children who feel lost and hurt. Families are suffering and they need our help. Let's get this done. Let's do this. An increase in funding for legal and mental health care services for immigrants is an investment in the future for the viability of the city of Baltimore. Increase the funding and make the accessibility less cumbersome so that the city of Baltimore can be the #1 place that people want to come to live. I also want to invite all representatives of BUILD to please stand.
Good evening.
Okay, please. I want to say this first. I made an exception, but if you're not signed up, you will not be able to speak if I don't read your name. I need everybody who wants to speak to sign up. Are you Miss Margarita Santana?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I did make an exception because you did put Episcopal Diocese in here. And I know the father was connected with you. So just know that I'm not going to be able to make that exception going forward.
Yeah, you have Leslie McMillan.
No, ma'am. I have Carmelina Mosier next, and then Arthur Stewart after that. So we're going to go in order, this on this list. So Margarita Santana,
Yes,
and then
ma'am.
Carmelina Mosier, and then Arthur Stewart. So Ms. Santana, if you can begin at this time.
I signed it.
Thank you.
Good evening. I will speak in Spanish afterwards. Another BUILD leader will repeat what I say, but in English. Soy la reverenda Margarita Santana, pastora de la Iglesia de la Resurrección en Highland Town. canóniga para el Ministerio Latino en la Diócesis Episcopal de Maryland y parte de Build. Esta noche compartiré la historia de uno de los miembros de mi iglesia, Mariela, desde su perspectiva. Mi nombre es Mariela, he estado casada con mi esposo durante 14 años. Tenemos 4 hijas hermosas. Mi esposo siempre ha obedecido las leyes de migración. En marzo, mi esposo fue a su cita de inmigración como de costumbre, pero ese día le dijeron que iba a ser deportado. Mi esposo le preguntó, ¿por qué? El oficial le explicó, tengo una cancelación de deportación, lo que significa que no pueden deportarme. Cuando le permitieron llamarme, me dijo con incredulidad, ¿cómo puede estar pasando esto? Compartió que le dijeron que firmara un papel. Él les dijo a los oficiales, no entiendo lo que dice ese papel, no puedo firmarlo. El oficial respondió, si no lo haces, traeré más oficiales para que lo firmes. Entonces él firmó. Mariela me dijo, lo deportaron. Me sentí paralizada por su historia. No podía imaginar cómo se sentía ella y sus 4 hijas. Miembros del consejo, quiero que sepan, me dijo Mariela, él no hizo nada malo y ahora no sé qué va a pasar conmigo y con mis hijos. Sé que no solo estuvo mal lo que le hicieron, sino que él es ciudadano mexicano y quieren deportarlo a El Salvador. Mariela, sin saber qué hacer, acudió a un abogado en quien pensó que podía confiar. Él le prometió ayuda y lo único que hizo fue estafarla con el dinero.
With your permission, I was going to say in English what she just said to you in Spanish,
Yes, ma'am.
if that is okay. Because I heard you clearly that you wanted to go in order.
Yes, ma'am. If you're
It's okay.
interpreting, that's fine. She has additional time as well.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'm Leslie McMillan, a lay co-chair of BUILD, and I want to say good evening to the council president and to each of you council members, respective members, and truly appreciate your attention and all the work that you're doing to review this budget. I know it's a huge task. So Reverend Santana, Margarita Santana, told a story in Spanish, and I'm going to share so that you know what she was saying. She is the pastor of the Church of Resurrection in Highlandtown, canon for the Latino ministry in the Episcopal Diocese of Maryland, and a member of BUILD. Their church is a member of BUILD. Tonight, she was sharing a story of one of her church members, Mariela. I will tell you the story from her perspective, and I'm speaking on behalf of Mariela. My name is Mariela. I've been married to my husband for 14 years. We have 4 beautiful children. My husband has always obeyed the immigration law here in Baltimore and in Maryland. On March 2nd, my husband went to his immigration appointment as usual. But on this day, he was told he was going to be deported. My husband asked why. He explained to the officer, I have a cancellation of deportation, which means I should not be deported. When he was allowed to call me, this is Mariela saying, he said in disbelief, how can this be happening? He shared that he was told to sign a piece of paper. He told the officers he did not understand what was on that paper and he could not sign it. The officer replied, if you don't sign it, I will bring in more officers and make you sign it. So he signed it without having any idea what he signed. Mariela told me he was deported. She feels paralyzed by this story. We feel paralyzed by this story and can't imagine how she felt. Mariela continued, he did nothing wrong, and now I don't know what's going to happen to my children and me. Council members, I want you to know that not only what happened to him was wrong, but he's a Mexican citizen, and he's being deported to El Salvador. Mariella, not knowing what to do, she did turn to get legal services. She turned to an attorney she thought that she could trust. He promised her that he would help, but all resulted was stealing of her money. So I, along with the BUILD folks standing, we stand with our immigrant friends, neighbors in Baltimore City in solidarity. We have folks not only in here, but in the overflow room and coming into City Hall. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you, Carmelina Mosier.
Good evening, President Cohen and member of the council. My name is Carmelina, and I am a mother. I'm a member of BUILD, and I'm someone who stands with the community, with families across Baltimore, helping and serving to keep families safe and together, trying to navigate the system. I wanted to speak about family separation trauma, not as an idea, but as something I live, something my son live, and something many children in the city are living now. I came into the United States in 2003. 2 years later, I married here in City Hall. And soon after I had my son, Christian, Baltimore City was my home. But in 2007, everything changed. I opened a deportation letter. At that moment, my fear was not for myself, it was for my 2-year-old son. I had no family to return, no home waiting for us, and no way to explain to my little boy why his entire world was about to disappear. Children don't understand immigration laws, but they do understand fear, instability, and loss. We fought for 2 years, but I was still deported to El Salvador, and my son went with me. Those 2 years changed him forever. Even now, at 18 years old, he still carries that trauma, the anxiety, the hypervigilance, the constant sense that life can collapse without warning. My story is unique because my lawyer was able to eventually bring me back to home, Baltimore. In listening sessions with Bill in our church, families share the same truth. Our children are suffering from the trauma of separation. This trauma shows up in children as depression, anxiety, and behavioral struggles, and worst of all, being shut down because they no longer feel safe. This is not an immigration issue. It is a mental health emergency for our children. And that is why we need to guarantee access to immigration legal services so families can navigate the status adjustment without fear and confusion. When families cannot access legal counsel, children pay the price. We need trauma-informed, culturally complement mental health service for immigrant youth. I am standing here as a mother, as a community leader, as someone who has lived this trauma, and I'm asking to take bold action to protect immigrant families and safeguard the emotional well-being of our children here in Baltimore City. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to express today.
Thank you. Arthur Stewart.
Good evening. I'm Arthur Stewart, standing alongside others from Baltimore's United in Leadership Development. I wanted to begin by saying thank you. Thank you for the work that you do for this city and for the citizens of this city and the people that live here. Thank you for making the opportunity for people like me to get to stand and tell you what is important to me in the work that you are doing. In addition to working with Build, I am a minister at North Baltimore Mennonite Church in Roland Park. Our church runs a community home in Reservoir Hill to help asylum seekers as they build a life in Baltimore. I want to share you one story about an asylum seeker who lived at this house for about 4 years as he was going through all the legal processes of settling and working into the system. He is a torture survivor from his home country with long-term physical disabilities as a result. He followed all legal pathways to permanent residency in the US and was living a stable life here in Baltimore, including holding down a job. He was in every way a model citizen of this city. Last summer, ICE agents assaulted him in front of his home in the city, dragging him out of his car as he was getting ready to go to work. He explained his legal status to them. They didn't care. And after this chaotic assault, he was detained, of course, leaving behind his car, his job, his life here in Baltimore. To this day, he is still in detention in Texas without adequate medical care or legal aid. This gentleman has a prosthetic leg, which does not work without medical care. He does not receive that, as you can imagine, in detention. He's now got an infection. It's getting worse with no help. So you can imagine the mental distress that he is suffering from this and from being illegally detained with no clear path of moving his case forward so that he can just come home. And he's just one of the people I know. We all know there are thousands of others just like him, but he is one from our city that I care about and that I know. He's followed every rule and is a valuable member of our community. He needs help. He needs legal help. He needs mental health help. We need your help. These are our neighbors that we're talking about. So thank you for your consideration and thank you for caring for the people of this city.
Thank you. You're gonna have to bear with me on this next name. And what I would ask is anybody who's signing in to please print your name clearly. I believe this may be Ashley or Asia. And the only thing I can make out in this last name is written as a signature is the letter P.
It's Christina Paglinow, and I apologize for my handwriting. Good evening, Council President Cohen, Vice President Middleton, and members of our City Council. I'm Reverend Christina Paglinow. I serve at the Church of the Redeemer in North Baltimore and as co-chair of Build. And before launching into what I have prepared to say, I would just like to invite us to honor the stories that we have just heard, testimonies of human suffering and anguish happening now in our city, by just holding a few moments of intentional, prayerful silence together. Amen. As a woman of faith and a spiritual leader, and as a wife, mother, and daughter of immigrants who settled here in Baltimore and made Baltimore their home, I ask you, members of our City Council, how can you hear what we have all just heard and not respond in a tangible, meaningful, significant way? By increasing funds for MEMA in this year's budget to $5 million. If not now, then when? And if not you, then who? Knowing what is happening in our communities, the most vulnerable among us, immigrant families being torn apart, all the trauma and all the fear. And I have here, Over 1,100 letters of support from Build member institutions all around Baltimore, who together in one collective voice ask you to help keep immigrant families together and to act on the trauma that our youth are facing by increasing funds for MEMA to $5 million in this year's budget, specifically for legal and mental health services. Accessible legal counsel is essential to navigate the complexities of status adjustment, to keep families united, and clearly access to mental health services is equally essential. To echo Prophet Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., the fierce urgency of now is once again upon us in our nation, in our city. And we as leaders must do what is in our power to do to find a way, to make a way in the wilderness of these fearful times to bring some measure of healing, some measure of hope, some measure of mercy and justice. Sino es ahora cuando, sino todas ustedes tú quieres. ¿Quiénes? If not now, when? If not you, then who? Thank you.
Thank you. Kachobi Lassiter.
Thank you, Baltimore City Council. My name is Kachobi Lassiter, and I am representing the Baltimore Teachers Union. And I want to speak to you guys about locked doors, what's on the other side, dangers, opportunity, and resources. The latter two are welcoming. Dangers need be checked. Fox 45 in January 2026 cited 3 city schools as persistently dangerous, which according to their read of Maryland state law is a school with serious problems. Persistently dangerous with high numbers of suspensions or expulsions for violent acts, yet principals may stop disciplining students to stay off the list. And Baltimore City Public Schools works in concert with state and federal law and law enforcement entities to address trouble. That's good, but stakeholders remain on the front lines of vulnerability. We deserve protections. A 2020 study conducted by Burdock, Will et al. Suggested that exposure to violence may desensitize students to violence at school. It follows that violent crimes, even in elementary schools, fluctuates from year to year. Mayor Scott has introduced community violence intervention programs in at least 4 high schools for the current and previous school years. That's good, for they are mediating conflicts and trying to change communities' norms around gun violence, but there must still be a buffer for those of us who are exposed to violence. We must have places of safety to which we can run in the event of dangers. We must have locked doors. Within the past few days, kids and staff were ushered away from my school's campus because of potential threats of danger or retaliation for fights which occurred on the school's campus earlier that day. School police, city police were present at our dismissal, and during that day, I saw 8 to 10 family members converge on the school's campus to protect their child and watch while administrators and school police spoke with the group, not allowing them to enter our building's locked doors. The stuff that we stakeholders see and don't see impacts our ability to effectively educate Baltimore's children. To teach our babies, we must ensure their safety and our own. You lock your doors for myriad reasons. Allow us to lock our doors. Huge energy, millions of dollars are given to perpetrators of violence. Bigger energy and millions of dollars must be given to its victims. Help us to lock our schools' doors.
Thank you. Next, we have Nate Golden.
Good evening, everyone. I'm not appearing twice. My twin brother was here earlier tonight. My name is Nate Golden. I am a math teacher at Forest Park High School and one of the leaders of the Baby Fund campaign. And I'm here tonight to encourage the council to make significant amendments to the proposed budget. Over the previous 2 years, the city budget has increased by $812 million. Our budget has increased so much that the total budget now matches Baltimore County's, despite the fact that we have over 300,000 less people. Baltimore is not broke, but it often feels like we are. So I've looked at dozens of other city budgets around the country, and there is one glaring place where Baltimore is an outlier. We spend more money on policing per capita than any other city in the country, maybe any other city on earth. Under the proposed budget, Baltimore would increase police spending another $44 million, bringing our per capita spending to $1,210. Once you remove pension contributions to more accurately compare to other jurisdictions, Baltimore spends $1,010 per resident on policing. When confronted with these numbers, those in power often point to the consent decree. But Chicago and Cleveland police departments are also under a consent decree and spend about 30% less per capita on policing. If we aligned our per capita police funding with Chicago's, we'd have an extra $165 million to spend on our communities. Enough money to rehab 100 vacant homes, build 100 units of public housing, add 3 more Charm City circulator routes, add 100 miles of protected bike lanes, 50 miles of dedicated bike lanes, make the water taxi free 365 days a year, give every parent of a newborn $2,000, and still have enough money left over to cut property taxes by 10 basis points. As my time expires, I want to remind you all that this is your budget too. And we are relying on you, as the people of Baltimore, to rigorously examine every dollar spent and make sure it is spent in the best way possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Nathan Farrell.
Okay, good evening, everybody. Nathan Farrell, Spanish teacher, Baltimore Teachers Union. Really appreciate my colleague who spoke early about locked doors, locked doors, locked doors. Why are a bunch of folks in yellow shirts, teachers, BTU members, coming here to discuss that? Because Baltimore City Public Schools lack the most basic safety infrastructure. We lack classroom doors that lock from the inside. More funding is needed for locks on classroom doors for school safety. Baltimore City chooses to invest the absolute minimum required by law in its public schools. As a percentage of the total school budget and as a percentage of the city's operating budget, Baltimore City contributes among the lowest to its public schools of any other district or county in Maryland. Tonight, we're asking you to change that, especially when it comes to the most basic and evidence-based safety improvement of classrooms, which is doors that lock. I imagine there's some parents, grandparents, neighbors here who are absolutely appalled that we have doors that do not lock in our schools. So I just want you to, imagine being an educator, you hear the announcement, lockdown, 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 you move your class to the corner of the room, you turn the lights off, but your doors don't lock. Think about the student or even the bad actor from outside the community propping open an exterior door to allow somebody into the school who might cause harm, and the school has classrooms where the doors don't lock. Please have empathy for the educator who works in a building that really struggles with behavior management, and they can't even keep their door locked to prevent children from eloping or leaving, or students who shouldn't even be in their class to come and enter their class and cause a disruption or a fight because their doors don't lock. We're asking Baltimore City to step up beyond the minimum maintenance of effort of school funding, and we're asking that members of the council provide the funds needed to ensure that our schools are safe. This is evidence-based. We do not need more police. We do not need more metal detectors. Evidence-based shows that if you have doors that lock, you are preventing violence, you are preventing harm, and in the worst case scenario of a school shooting, you are preventing death. City schools have said that installing locks on the classroom doors is a priority, but they're facing budget constraints and they can't commit to installing locks for all of our schools. So this council can ensure that safety for our students and for the working people who serve them by providing funding to city schools for classroom doors that lock. More funding is needed for locks on classroom doors and for school safety. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Krista Kilduff.
Hi, good evening, City Council. Good evening, residents of Baltimore. My name is Krista Kilduff, or Krista Daring. I am the Executive Director of BREAD, which is the Baltimore Roundtable for Economic Democracy. We are a local CDFI that focuses on providing technical assistance and financing to worker cooperatives and community-owned assets in Baltimore. We have made over $25 million in patient capital available to cooperatives in Baltimore, and none of that money has come from inside of Baltimore City. None of the funds to operate BREAD comes from Baltimore City. We are asking for Baltimore City to invest in our area cooperatives. Cooperatives that are owned by their workers not only provide secure and quality jobs for their employees, they stabilize whole industries, they stabilize whole neighborhoods and commercial districts by setting the standard of fair working conditions and democratic control of workplaces. I'm a lifelong Baltimore City resident. I grew up in the 14th district and now I live in the 3rd. When I was a senior in high school at the Baltimore School for the Arts, Red Emma's opened their first location around the corner on St. Paul Street. I became a volunteer at the space and engaged in deep placemaking and connected to social justice organizers from across the city and eventually across the country. When I returned home after completing my undergraduate, I immediately returned to Red Emma's, but this time as a worker owner, as a full stakeholder in the business. And I assisted our move to North Avenue. We moved from an 800 square foot location on St. Paul Street to a 5,000 square foot on North Avenue, which became an important community hub and place of economic development. Baltimore City has the fastest growing cooperative ecosystem in the country. And in particular, we are setting the blueprint for cooperative conversions, which is the process in which a traditionally owned business becomes a worker-owned cooperative. Since 2020, with the assistance of BREAD, we have saved over 150 jobs in Baltimore City, and those businesses have gone on to create 50 more jobs in that period of time. I'm asking Baltimore City to consider in this budget allocating some funds to assist the cooperative ecosystem in Baltimore City. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Edith Henson. Edith Henson.
Hello. Good evening, City Council President Cohen and council members. My name is Edith Henson, and I'm a program director at Amicus Center for Immigrant Rights. We are the primary nonprofit legal provider of legal services for Baltimore City residents detained by ICE. I'm out of breath from jogging over here. Since 2017, Amicus Center has defended over 300 city residents, impacting more than 200 Baltimore City children. In just the past 6 months, we've received over 100 referrals from Baltimore City residents in need of detained immigration legal defense. Since January of last year, ICE has aggressively expanded arrests, and just a few blocks away, our neighbors are being held in inhumane conditions in the Baltimore hold room before being transferred to quote-unquote human warehouses across the country. Nationwide, more than 75,000 people are currently detained by ICE, and Amicus Center has been serving that population for nearly 30 years. Despite these dire circumstances, Amicus Center, with the support of Baltimore City, provides life-changing legal defense that reunites families and protects our neighbors from unlawful detention and deportation. I'm going to tell you a story that may sound a little familiar from earlier. However, it is a perspective from Amicus Center. You heard about a gentleman earlier who I'll call Alex, who before migrating to the United States, Alex was kidnapped, tortured, and repeatedly executed by the Sinaloa cartel in Mexico, resulting in the loss of his leg and severe PTSD. I represented Alex in 2018 and secured him torture protection from Mexico and permission to live in the United States. As you heard, last summer, Alex was randomly targeted by ICE. They broke his car windows and falsely claimed to be Baltimore City police, saying they were taking him downtown for questioning. Instead, they took him to the Baltimore hold room where he was held for days before being sent to a prison camp in South Texas where, when I found him, he was about to be walked across the border for deportation. After I confronted ICE about their unlawful conduct, they finally conceded that Alex could not be legally deported, and they pulled him out of the line for deportation. But it was only after Amica Center intervened and threatened legal action that ICE stopped their own illegal actions. Alex's outcome is only achievable because experienced legal advocates were able to act quickly and proficiently. Baltimore City support makes these interventions possible, and Amica Center looks forward to strengthening our relationship and keeping immigrant families together and our Baltimore City community strong. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next, we're going to have Bernardo Visual, and that's going to be followed by Tav Lane, and then Shelby Munson. So Bernardo Visual, then Tav Lane, then Shelby Munson.
Hello, council members. My name is Bernardo Vigil. I'm a longtime District 14 resident, but I'm here speaking my capacity as a worker owner of Baltimore Bicycle Works, which is a bike shop organized as a workers' cooperative in the 7th. Founded in 2008, our shop was among the first contemporary cooperatives in Baltimore City. We presently have 8 owners and 3 apprentices on track to ownership, all of whom live and pay taxes in Baltimore City, and the vast majority of whom would not have had access to the benefits of business ownership were it not for our worker-owned model. Baltimore Bicycle Works is presently the only bike shop left outside of Mount Washington, and our longevity can be credited largely to our cooperative structure and our dedication to workplace democracy, a model which roots us firmly in our community and allows us to think creatively and collectively when hard times arise. Our almost 20-year history would also not have been possible without support from Baltimore Roundtable for Economic Democracy, which extended us financing for 2 major expansion projects without any of our individual working class members needing to put up personal assets as collateral. It's not an exaggeration to say that Baltimore Bicycle Works would not still be here without support from the broader cooperative movement as organized through BREAD. With that said, I am urging the council to fund citywide cooperative development so that more of Baltimore City's economy can be rooted in the people who actually live and work here. More workers can feel the psychic and financial empowerment that comes with owning and controlling their place of employment, and Baltimore City can continue to be a national leader in cooperative business development. Thank you.
Thank you, Tav Lane.
Good evening, council members. My name is Tav Lane. I'm a Baltimore City resident and worker owner at Meta Integrative Wellness Cooperative in the Hamden neighborhood. And that's Meta with 2 T's, no affiliation with Mark Zuckerberg. After being wrongfully terminated from a Massage Envy for attempting to unionize, I was looking for a workplace where I would have a say in the decisions that would affect me, my coworkers, our clients, and our neighborhood. I found that and more at Meta Wellness. We offer sliding scale memberships and pay what you can services to make bodywork accessible to those who wouldn't normally be able to afford this crucial care. You won't see these kinds of community-minded offers from chains whose pricing structure comes down from an out-of-state corporate office. I'm also easily paid approximately twice as much as massage therapists working at such chains, which means I don't have to work past the point of exhaustion to meet my financial obligations, and that's no small feat these days. I know firsthand that taking care of each other is taking care of business, because the business doesn't run without its workers and our clients. We as workers are in the best position to determine our needs, and we have ample support from organizations like the Baltimore Roundtable for Economic Democracy to meet them and run a successful business. I'm proud to be part of a growing network of cooperatives in the city, and I believe that Baltimore workers deserve a say in what happens in their workplace. So I hope that you'll take initiative to empower workers and keep small businesses alive and well in Baltimore by allocating funds to support worker-owned cooperatives. Thank you.
Thank you, Shelby Munson.
Hello,
City Council. Thank you so much. My name is Shelby Munson. I have lived and worked in Baltimore City for over 12 years now. I'm a worker owner at Common Ground Cafe, which is a cooperative coffee shop and bakery in Hamden. In April of 2023, the entire Common Ground staff was laid off by the owner with less than 24 hours notice. In the blink of an eye, our livelihoods disappeared. With the help of Baltimore Roundtable for Economic Democracy, we were able to reopen as a worker-owned cooperative where we as workers have decision-making ability and access to business profits. Suddenly, what was a minimum wage job became a career that could support the staff in more meaningful ways. Since I've been there before we became worker-owned, I've seen firsthand what it means when workers have a real stake in the business. We're not just employees. We make decisions together, we share responsibility, and we reinvest in our community because we are the community. Since becoming a cooperative, we've been able to create more stability for ourselves and keep a beloved neighborhood space alive. That doesn't just benefit us as workers, it benefits our customers, our neighbors, and the local economy. What's really important to understand is that cooperatives like ours don't just happen on their own. They take technical support, training, and resources to get off the ground and succeed long-term. That's why I'm asking the city to commit funding in the budget for cooperative development. Baltimore already has one of the strongest cooperative ecosystems in the country. With real investment, we could grow even further, creating more stable jobs, preserving small businesses, and building an economy where workers actually have a say. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you. So up next, we have Kelsey Bacon, followed by Olga Yu, and then Irvin Gonzalez. Again, Kelsey Bacon is next, followed by Olga Yu, and then Irvin Gonzalez.
Hello, thank you. My name is Kelsey Bacon. I've lived in Baltimore City and worked in Baltimore City for over 10 years now. I'm also colleagues with Shelby over at Common Ground in Hamden. We've been there as a cooperative for almost 3 years now. We were fired by a boss who didn't live in the city, couldn't be gathered to give us, our managers, our vendors, or our customers more than 24-hour notice before shutting the business down. Bread provided us with the funding and support to develop a workplace that is democratically run, where we can collectively in charge of our decisions that we make as a business. We've been able to grow a business that values its workers. We're able to hire, and we become a place that people want to work at because they see that we enjoy our jobs. And we can also give back to the community. We've been able to support a community meal program, which welcomes all members of the community who may not be able to afford our prices. And we've been able to create a welcoming third space. I'm asking you to commit funding to cooperative developments to workers so that more workers in Baltimore City have the opportunity to participate fully in their workplaces. Since working with Bread, we've gotten professional development and we've gotten to be connected with other cooperatives across the city, so I can see the meaningful impact that they have on workers and their communities. Baltimore is a city that's known for its cooperatives, and I would love to see that continued and for that opportunity to become available for more workers in the city. Thank you for your time.
Olga Yu.
If we could have extra time, I'll be interpreting for her. Thanks.
Hola, buenas tardes a todos presentes. Mi nombre es Olga.
Un momento. We just want to get the time right.
Buenas tardes a todos, nuevamente a todos los presentes. Mi nombre es Olga, soy inmigrante de la costa caribe norte de Nicaragua. Soy miembro de We Are Casa y me siento bendecida por criar a mis hijos en una ciudad que se esfuerza por proteger a familias inmigrantes como la mía. Sí.
Good afternoon, good evening. My name is Olga. I'm an immigrant. I'm a proud Indigenous woman
from the Caribbean coast of Nicaragua, and I'm a member of We Are Casa. I feel very blessed to raise my kids in a city that is working hard to protect immigrant families just like mine.
Agradecemos a los concejales y alcaldes por aprobar leyes como espacios y comunidades seguras, que nos protege de las deportaciones.
We are very grateful to the City Council and to the Mayor for passing laws like the Safe Spaces and Communities Act, which help to protect us from Trump's cruel deportation machine.
Deportaciones crueles con este gobierno actual. Estamos agradecidos por programar como ciudad segura que ofrecen en un salvavidas a las familias que están bajo ataque.
We're also very grateful for programs like Safe City, which provide a real lifeline to families that are under attack.
Sin embargo, todos los días vemos cómo el gobierno federal intensifica su guerra contra nuestras comunidades.
And even with these strong protections, every day we are watching the federal government escalate its war against our communities.
Vemos cómo ICE secuestra a madres y padres dejando a los niños y familias traumatizados. Vemos cómo las familias pierden su fuente principal de ingreso.
We see ICE kidnapping mothers and fathers, leaving children and families traumatized. We are watching families lose their primary source of income and struggle to make ends meet.
A medida que aumenta la actividad de ICE, vemos lo difícil que es conseguir representación legal para quienes la necesitan.
And as we watch ICE activity increase in our neighborhoods, in our workplaces, in our children's schools, we see how hard it is to secure legal representation for those who need it most.
La necesidad es cada vez mayor. Es esencial que presupuestos de 2027 responda a esta necesidad, aumentando la financiación para los programas para inmigrantes a $5 millones.
The need is growing, and we ask, and it is necessary that the 2027 budget reflect this growth and address this need by increasing funding for immigrant programs to $5 million.
Esto nos ayudará a permitir a la ciudad fortalecer el acceso a la asistencia legal y apoyos para salud mental y las defensas comunitarias.
This funding is crucial to enable the city to strengthen access to mental health resources, community defense, like Know Your Rights, and legal assistance.
Asimismo, también ayudará a mantener nuestras comunidades lo más unido posible en estos tiempos difíciles.
Moreover, this funding will help to keep our communities as whole as possible throughout these trying times.
Cuando nos unimos para proteger a nuestros vecinos de la injusticia, fortalecemos la economía de nuestra ciudad y de todo el país.
When we stand together, protect our neighbors from injustice, it makes our whole city stronger, our economy stronger, and ultimately the country stronger. Thank you.
Muchas gracias. Esperamos su apoyo y sí se puede. We are.
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
Thank you, Irvin Gonzalez.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. My name is Irvin Gonzalez, and I am the Deputy Director of Services at We Are Casa in Baltimore, Central Maryland. Thank you for the time to speak in front of you all today. Not only am I work with Casa, but I've been calling Baltimore my home proudly for the past 10 years. And I'm here today on behalf of our Baltimore Casa members to ask that the budget include $5 million of support for immigrant programs. Like mentioned before, we thank you for your leadership in passing the Safe Spaces, Communities Act, and continuing to support immigrant families. But right now, as we continue to respond to federal attacks, we need to just make sure as they increase their budget, we also increase our budget too to continue to support our immigrant families. As we know, our immigrant families and neighbors are incredibly resilient, working hard every day to build their lives and contribute to our city. But federal enforcement continues to escalate. And now is the time for us to match the escalation resilience against the federal government. with programs like Safe Cities, we experience firsthand what families go through. We receive calls daily of ICE detentions in the city, of ICE sightings in the cities, and these are affecting our families. ICE continues to tear apart families, leaving children traumatized and families financially devastated. With this funding, we will cover legal defense, direct representation for families, continued social services for families, and increased mental health. One thing that gets overlooked a lot is how this is affecting families mentally, not just financially. And as our community is being attacked, a lot of the stigmatized against mental health is becoming more talked about. So seeing how people are coming forward that they want to speak to people about their mental health has been something that has changed incredibly. So again, I urge you to include this $5 million in the budget. When we stand together against injustice, we will continue to make Baltimore City stronger. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to hear from Caitlin O'Connor, followed by Emily Lerman. Caitlin O'Connor, followed by Emily Lerman.
Hi, everybody. My name is Caitlin O'Connor. I am one of the worker owners of the wine source in the Hamden neighborhood. We are one of the largest wine, beer, spirits, and gourmet food stores in the city. I am a proud Baltimore City native, and I'm a proud member of a worker cooperative, and I'm here today to testify in support of funding for cooperative development in Baltimore City. I'd like to tell you a little bit about how we came to be a cooperative and the impact that it has had on my life. Back in March of 2024, the former owner of the wine source decided to retire, and he put the business up for sale. As employees, we had no way of knowing what new ownership meant for us. We were suddenly faced with uncertainty about our jobs, our health care, our careers. And after 12 years with the company, I felt myself wondering whether I needed to start looking for a new job. What felt wrong was that this beloved community business, run every day by dedicated workers, could easily have been sold to outside buyers simply because they had the money to purchase it. Around that time, I began exploring ways to keep the business in the hands of the employees, and that's when we connected with Brad, who you heard from earlier. What followed was a 6-month roller coaster of a journey to purchase the business and convert it to a worker-owned cooperative, which we did in September of 2024, something that would not have been possible without Brad's guidance, expertise, and support. Today, I am the owner of a large, successful, and thriving business, something I never imagined would have been possible for myself. Through this experience, I saw firsthand how empowering it can be to make ownership accessible to working people. Converting the wine source into a cooperative has been a net positive for this city. The former owner was able to retire knowing his legacy would be intact. Our customers are proud to support a worker-owned business, and our workers know that their well-being is prioritized right alongside the success of the business. You have an opportunity to invest in this growing movement that empowers working people, strengthens communities, and keeps businesses rooted locally. I urge you to support funding for cooperative development in Baltimore City. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. My name is Emily Lerman. I live in Baltimore City in District 11. I'm a worker owner at Mira Kitchen Collective just up the street in Mount Vernon. We've been around for the last 9 years as a cooperative and 4 years in our brick and mortar restaurant. When we started Mira 9 years ago, we wanted to build a business where all of us could share in the risk and rewards of business ownership and participate together. In addition to providing great food, we wanted to create family-sustaining jobs for all of our workers. So we, with the help of the Baltimore Roundtable for Economic Democracy, became a worker cooperative. We started with 3 of us. Now we have over 20 workers with 5 worker owners and at least 2 new worker owners on the way. Baltimore is on its way to becoming a model for the rest of the state and the country in terms of what workplace democracy looks like, especially in the food service industry, where workers typically have to settle for low wages and poor working conditions. I urge the City Council to support the request for funding for citywide cooperative development. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Aiko Trevitt Walker. Diane Williams, followed by Reggie Farrell. Diane Williams or Reggie Farrell.
Good evening. My name is Reggie Farrell, and I'm a board member of the Greenmount West Community Association here in support of the Guilford Bridge funding. I've only lived in Baltimore for a little over 2 years, but I've been a part of this community association even less time. But it didn't take long for me to understand what the Guilford Bridge means to the neighborhood. It's a legacy landmark. According to many of my neighbors, for generations, families have crossed it to gather, celebrate, and connect. It once carried portraits of community leaders on its walls, a symbol that Greenmount West stands as one. As a daily biker and walker, I use this bridge often. And as Baltimore's art district, our neighborhood turns small investments into real impact. This funding will keep Greenmount West clean and green, sustain the artists who give our community its character, and ensure accessibility to beloved neighborhood programs like Jazz in the Park. It will also mean better and safer spaces for the neighborhood kids and students. The Guilford Bridge is where residents feel pride coming into and leaving our neighborhood. Funding it tells families, artists, and newcomers that this place is worth growing and living in. On behalf of the Greenmount West Community Association, we urge your support. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. I want to come back to Ms. Diane Williams. Okay. So next we have Victoria LeBron and Darcy Kerwin Garber. Victoria LeBron.
Good evening, City Council. My name is Victoria LeBron, and I live and work in Baltimore City. I'm a worker owner with Baltimore Transformative Learning Collective, also known as Be More Transform, an educational cooperative based in Baltimore City. Being a worker owner means that I have a real say in how our business operates, grows, and shows up in our community through the work we do. I'm here to voice my support for public funding for worker cooperatives. Be More Transform, a worker cooperative of abolitionist educators, is focused on decolonizing Baltimore's educational ecosystem. Our consulting services and out-of-school programming offer joyful, transformative learning and community experiences focused on shifting beyond capitalist ideals, such as individualism. Worker cooperatives, which celebrate collective ownership, deserve more support in Baltimore. First, in the United States, they were born out of proud Indigenous, Black, and immigrant traditions of mutualism. Second, they create jobs where people have ownership and a voice. In a city like Baltimore, where many communities have been underfunded and shut out of opportunity, co-ops build something outside of traditional business interventions. At its heart, Baltimore is a community-centered city. The cooperative business model represents sustainable entrepreneurship, keeping wealth in our communities, revitalizing the economy, and giving local residents a real stake in what they're building. The challenge is that co-ops don't have the same access to funding as traditional businesses. They're not built to maximize profit alone, so they don't attract the same kind of investment. Public funding helps keep these businesses alive and growing. In terms of growth, Baltimore represents one of the fastest growing cooperative ecosystems in the country, which was mentioned earlier, thanks in large part to Baltimore Roundtable for Economic Development. Just imagine what we could do with intentional public funding for cooperative development. City funding for cooperative development is an investment in a more sustainable Baltimore now and in the future. It will ensure this work can continue, grow, and reach future entrepreneurs. It's about choosing a future where Baltimore invests in itself. Financial support for cooperative development is how we build something that both supports and outlasts us. Co-ops are about ownership, stability, and community. That's why I support them, and that's why I support funding this work. Thank you.
Darcy Kerwin Garber.
Good evening. Good to see you all. My name is Darcy Kerwin Garber. I'm with the Baltimore Harm Reduction Coalition. We are a community-based organization working directly in overdose prevention. I am here tonight, first of all, to thank the city for continuing to invest opioid restitution funds to community-based overdose prevention efforts in this year's budget. I'm also here to urge the city to start planning now for how Baltimore will protect these programs, as federal funding cuts will worsen over the next 2 years, because the federal government has been very clear about what it is targeting. Federal cuts and restrictions are already targeting harm reduction, healthcare access, and housing and homelessness services. For overdose prevention alone, another $10 billion in cuts has already been proposed for the next federal fiscal year. These are not abstract threats. These are predictable funding losses that will directly impact Baltimore communities and the organizations people rely on every day. As one of those organizations, I can say we are painfully aware of this instability. And the reason this matters so much also is because these investments are working. We have seen overdose deaths drop because overdose prevention efforts have been funded. People are alive today because they have access to naloxone, harm reduction services, outreach, treatment connections, and trusted programs staffed by people who have been where they are. If investment has helped create these outcomes, then cuts will reverse them. Every syringe picked up from the sidewalk, every overdose reversed, every medical crisis prevented, and every person connected to care, housing, or support services adds to safer and more sustainable communities. This work is public safety. Now, some parts of the city's public safety infrastructure are financially stable right now. Our community health and overdose prevention programs are not. As Police Commissioner Worley has stated in this very room, that we cannot arrest our way out of the overdose crisis, and that means that these community programs are essential. Baltimore cannot control federal decisions, but the city does control how it uses unrestricted local dollars and what it chooses to sustain or what it is willing to let disappear. So if Baltimore is serious about reducing overdose deaths by 50%, as is planned, and improving community safety, then the city needs to start planning now for how it will protect these programs when federal funding disappears, because it is a matter of when, not if. Thank you, appreciate it.
Jennifer Coombs, followed by Madeline Morrison Rosen, followed by Bria Hodge. So Jennifer Coombs, followed by Madeline Munson Rosen or Morrison Rosen, followed by Bria Hodge.
Hello, Jennifer Kunze here from Clean Water Action and a resident of District 13. Here first to thank you for the advocacy you did on zero waste in last year's budget. Thanks to you, there was $750,000 added to the budget to be able to launch what will be the city's yard waste program to keep our yard waste out of being burned at Bresco. And that was a big step forward. We saw another big step forward thanks to our advocacy together, where this year's budget actually does fund 15 new staff positions to pick up yard waste, and $100,000 additional funding for a food scrap pilot to expand that and move that forward. And that's really progress. We need to look close at that and make sure, is that gonna be enough for success this year? What scale is that gonna be at this level of funding? And will this funding have longevity to but make these programs permanent and grow? But we also know these are pennies on the dollar compared to what's actually going to be necessary to transition away from Bresco and transition away from landfilling on the timeline that we need to in 5 short years from now. But I want to talk especially about the capital budget, because that's where the real crisis this year is going to be for zero waste. Y'all will remember in 2024, the city received a federal grant for $4 million to build what will be the first compost facility up at the future East Side Transfer Station on Bowleys Lane. And the FY24 capital budget included a $1 million match. But DPW was clear at the time, communicated at the time in their FY24 budget requests, there was gonna need to be an additional $3 million from the city in order to complete that facility. This year, DPW requested that $3 million, And planning said no. That is not in the capital budget that was adopted by the Board of Estimates. That is a huge problem because that facility is supposed to be operational by 2028. That's what has been promised. And that's what is necessary to keep on a timeline that gets us even close to an equitable transition away from Bresco. By 2031, we're at the halfway mark for the contract that was signed with Bresco in 2020. And we need to be well on our way to the transition by 2031. There's this pattern of failing to invest. We have made progress, but we have not done enough. Back in FY24, the 6-year capital plan called for $43 million over those 6 years for zero waste infrastructure. And so far, we've only seen 5, and only 1 of those from the city. The other 4 were from the EPA. So the ask, it's urgent, is to move $3 million from the general fund to the capital budget for this compost facility so it can stay on schedule. Thank you so much.
Madeline Morrison Rosen.
Hello, my name is Madeline Munson Rosen. I'm a high school literature teacher at Bard and the parent of a 2nd grader at Patterson Park Public Charter School. I'm here to ask for city budget funds for classroom doors that lock on the inside in every school building. During the 21-22 school year, I received threats of a mass shooting. Someone called my personal phone and said that they were going to come to my class and shoot my kids. They knew who I was and where I taught. I know several teachers received similar threats that year. This is one of the first times that I've actually spoken in public about this. I didn't tell friends and family at the time because I thought they would tell me to quit, and I won't. I love what I do. At the time, I was teaching in a strange location with intermittent key card access that I didn't have, and so I had to prop doors open in order to get my kids into the school building and into my classroom. And I put my number on a note on the front door so that kids could call me so that I could let them in the building, which is probably how whoever threatened me got my number in the first place. And I'm telling you this story just to show you that whatever ideas you have about what teachers do, it's always more and also weirder than you probably thought. But I'm also telling you this story to show you these concerns, how we get our kids literally into class so they can learn, what tools and resources we have for our teaching fall to teachers. Teachers are the bottom line, even when it comes to questions of school security, and the least you can do is make sure that we can lock our doors. I'm in a different school now, a school that I love, and a school where all staff works really hard to make sure our kids are safe. Mostly the doors inside my school building lock from the outside. We have a whole archaeology of security in my school building. We have a metal detector arch, we have a bunch of wands, we have some kind of ID scanner. None of these work. They haven't worked as long as I have worked in the building. Now, my door locks from the outside. So when we have a code red drill in my school, which we do regularly, I have to step outside my room. I lock the door before stepping inside and closing in it. In the best of circumstances, that's what everyone in my building would do. Step outside, lock the door, step inside. In an active shooter scenario, then some of us would be safe, but some of us inevitably wouldn't. So, council members, I'm asking you to follow the very simple recommendation of the Sandy Hook Promise Commission. Give us doors that lock from the inside. Find the funds in your budget to keep our kids safe. Thank you.
Bria Hodge.
Good evening, council members, and thank you for the opportunity to testify tonight. My name is Bria Hodge, and I serve as the Director of Small Business Development at the Latino Economic Development Center, or LEDC, a nonprofit community development financial institution that's supported entrepreneurs and families across Baltimore and the broader DMV region for more than 3 decades. We've maintained a dedicated Baltimore presence for more than 10 years, including our office in Canton, where we work directly with entrepreneurs and families across the city. I'm here tonight to encourage the city of Baltimore to protect and continue investing in childcare expansion initiatives, particularly efforts that help aspiring childcare providers navigate licensing, language access, business development, and startup capital. Through our work in Baltimore's immigrant and low to moderate income communities, we're seeing childcare emerge as one of the biggest barriers to workforce participation and economic mobility for families, especially young women and with children. Maryland already faces a severe childcare shortage, with licensed childcare available for only about half of children under 5 and only around 20% of infants and toddlers. As Baltimore's Hispanic population continues to grow, the challenge for families is not just affordability or availability, it's accessibility. We continue to see major language barriers within the childcare licensing and support ecosystem itself. Critical orientations, technical assistance, and portions of the licensing process are often not consistently available in Spanish, despite the growing number of bilingual and immigrant providers trying to formalize their businesses and serve their communities. LEDC is already working to address these childcare challenges through additional investment in childcare-specific programming and funding. We're currently developing a Baltimore-based childcare entrepreneurship cohort that will provide Spanish language business training, licensing support, financial coaching, lending access, and long-term technical assistance for aspiring childcare entrepreneurs. We are encouraged that the city's initial $500,000 investment is already moving into implementation through the Fund for Educational Excellence's capacity building process. But the proposed additional $300,000 is critical because the need continues to outpace the current provider pipeline and support infrastructure. If Baltimore wants to increase pre-K enrollment and help providers meet licensing requirements, we must invest not only in enrollment efforts, but in the provider pipeline itself. That means supporting organizations that can help aspiring providers navigate licensing, financing, and compliance in culturally responsive and language accessible ways. At a time when federal childcare support remains uncertain, local investment becomes even more important to building sustainable childcare infrastructure for working families. Baltimore does not just need more families looking for childcare. It needs more trusted, licensed providers ready to serve them. Thank you so much for your time and your leadership on this issue.
Thank you for your testimony. Next up, we have Leo Hernandez, followed by Amber Jones, followed by Taji Amani. Leo Hernandez, followed by Amber Jones, followed by Taji Amani. Leo Hernandez. Amber Jones.
Good evening, Council. My name is Amber Jones. I'm a lifelong Baltimore City resident, and I currently live in District 13's Care neighborhood. For the past 7 years, I have been organizing both locally and nationally with folks who are actively building a solidarity economy rooted in principles of cooperation, equity, mutualism, and collective care. In addition to being a new member of BRED staff, I'm also a co-founder of a local worker-owned cooperative called Ecosystem Awareness Solutions for Everyone, or EASE. Our startup journey is unique because we had access to grant funding to pay our highest need co-founding members, to cover the initial costs required to establish our business, and to host a co-founders retreat that was a crucial turning point in our organizing efforts. Because we had the support to launch, I'm able to stand before you today as a co-founding member of one of Baltimore's newest worker-owned cooperatives. My hope is that someday every resident of Baltimore City with the dream of starting a cooperative or someday owning their place of work will have access to the necessary resources and support needed to make that dream a reality. Cooperative development has the power to transform the lives of individual workers and entire communities when there are dedicated resources to support shared learning, trust building, business planning, and experimentation. Co-ops work and often outlast and perform other businesses when they're adequately resourced for an effective launch. BRED knows how to support co-ops at all stages of development. Imagine how much more they could do with resources to reach even more people. As a 35-year resident with decades of experience in community organizing, service, and development, I've come to believe and personally witness the crucial role that co-ops can play in sustainably meeting material needs and addressing the systemic barriers faced by residents of all communities, regardless of race, age, income, zip code, ethnicity, or district. Thus, I came here tonight asking you to support an organization that's already making a difference, standing up businesses that sustain and empower everyday residents, using a model of shared ownership and non-extractive financing that has positively transformed many workers' lives, including mine. Thank you for your time, attention, and consideration. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Taji Amani.
Good evening, City Council. My name is Taji Amani. I live in the 10th District, and I'm here with my colleagues at Baltimore Roundtable for Economic Democracy. And I'm here to urge the council to invest in the development of cooperative businesses. My own involvement in cooperative businesses began in 2017 when I spent over 5 years volunteering for a community initiative to establish a grocery store in Cherry Hill. This initiative was led by Black Yield Institute, which pursued the vision of a grocery store that would be cooperatively owned by South Baltimore residents. This meant keeping decision-making power and profits in the local community. These are benefits that would not be included by the more typical approach of enticing an investor-controlled grocery chain to move into the area. I think that the economic trajectory of Baltimore requires the city to invest in cooperative businesses urgently. My father entered adulthood in Baltimore as the city began deindustrializing. If more of those steel companies and manufacturing companies were cooperatively owned by Baltimore's everyday workers and residents, then the negative effects of deindustrialization might have been mitigated in the interests of Baltimore's everyday workers and residents. Instead, Baltimore's investor-centric companies led Baltimore the way of the Rust Belt cities. For many of us, regular employment in Baltimore's economy has yet to position us to meet our basic needs consistently. Many households are already on track towards a net worth of $0 within a few decades. Now, investor-centric AI companies and automation threaten downward pressure on employment, wages, and even civil liberties while putting upward pressure on our utilities prices. We need our leaders to invest in Baltimore's cooperative businesses so that when the next major economic shock unfolds, everyday people are not just the collateral damage of an investor-dominated economy yet again. In summary, investing in the development of cooperative businesses means more stable employment during recessions, retaining more profits locally, keeping more companies local, and increasing community control of our local economy. Thank you.
Thank you. We have Corey Johnson, followed by Nikki Fabricant, followed by Zalali Medina. So Corey Johnson, Nikki Fabricant, followed by Zalali Medina.
Hello, my preferred name is Myasia. I am the head of strategic partnerships at Impact Hub, and I'm grateful for your work in the leadership that you've had in passing legislation to support.
Myasia, we're going to start your time over. Could you just provide your last name just for the record as well, please?
Sure, thank you. Now, my name is Corey Myasia Johnson. I am here to talk about co-ops and the role that they play in the Baltimore's economy. At Impact Hub, we are ecosystem builders, and we're working to build a more equitable economy. With my partnership that I've participated in through the BASE network, Impact Hub has been a facilitator of this multi-partner network of small business support organizations that want to do things differently to make transformative change within the economy. And through that, I've gotten to learn a lot from Bread and their leadership within the city. And we are investing particularly in co-ops. Impact Hub has attributed a lot of our learnings in the ways that we move in community from cooperatively based principles and practices. And because of the specific nature of the co-op industry and the sectors and the support infrastructure that is here, Impact Hub is leaning in to support this burgeoning sector and the opportunities that are coming. We think that the legislation will open up more opportunities for co-ops to choose to be locally owned and and to build the sense of resiliency that is possible when you share labor and when you share expertise. Being in community with Bread and seeing what their influence has been on other small business support organizations has been essential. They are not only an ecosystem developer for the co-ops that they are developing, but also for partners within the entrepreneurial ecosystem to also find ways to pull those insights into the work that we do and introducing other entrepreneurs to this as an option. This option provides folks more resiliency in a longer term, as well as building the skills among more individuals that can become involved in the businesses. At Impact Hub, we have just launched a community of practice for co-op owners, which is actually led and facilitated by one of our co-working members, Victoria LeBron. And this, in addition to the additional programs we have been hosting about thought leadership to introduce folks to the concept and option of co-ops, is something that's extremely important so that we can start to funnel more people to Bread. So they need the support to be able to launch these new businesses in. It is a completely different cultural and mind shift change that's not just about what the business is, but how the people in the business get that done. So investing in the ecosystem at large is the longer term success so that these businesses can be brought online and become sustainable pillars within our community. So I thank you for your time, and I hope that you will continue to invest in this ecosystem. Thank you.
Thank you. Nikki Fabricant.
Good evening, members of the council. My name is Nicole Fabricant. I'm a professor of anthropology at Towson University. Hey, John. Hey, Mark. And also co-founder of the South Baltimore Community Land Trust and a resident of Mark Conway's District 4. I'm here to remind you again, and I will over and over, that budgets are moral documents that reflect our values. This budget does not reflect our values as taxpayers of the city of Baltimore. Right now, folks in the Black Butterfly lack supermarkets, adequate transportation, living wage jobs. Our kids miss summer school simply because their buildings lack air conditioning. A resident of Curtis Bay will die 20 years earlier than a resident of Roland Park. As Dr. Lawrence Brown reminds us, these disparities are a result of 105 years of policies, practices, and budgets. And yet every year we watch the police funding steadily increase in the budget. The fiscal year 25 police budget was $604 million, roughly 14% of the city's entire budget, remaining the largest single agency expense in the general funds. And we just keep seeing an increase year after year in the police budget. Police do not protect our communities. We protect our communities. The solution is simple: redistribute a fraction of the police budget, $604 million into Black Butterfly neighborhoods. This is how we see a radical decrease in crime and a healthier city. We cannot keep applying Band-Aids to structural wounds. When I look at Baltimore's youth, I think of Langston Hughes. What happens to dreams deferred? Do they dry up like a raisin in the sun? Maybe. It just sags like a heavy load. Or does it explode? For too many youth growing up in Baltimore, their dreams sag like heavy loads, and eventually they do explode. I have a vision for Baltimore. Let's divest from this bloated police budget and invest in community land trusts, affordable housing, zero waste infrastructure, and green jobs. Let's fund rec centers and after-school programs and healthcare. Let's invest in what our comrades here tonight are talking about: solidarity, economics, and worker cooperatives. This is non-extractive financing, unlike the predatory check cashing and loan agencies that exist in Black Butterfly communities. It's not too much to ask that kids growing up in East, West, and South get the same fighting chance as kids growing up in Roland Park. But we cannot rebuild, repair, and redistribute wealth if we fail to tax the wealthy and fail to shrink a bloated police budget. We're fighting for a budget that works with us and for us, a people's budget. Thank you.
Somali Medina.
Hello, good evening. My name is Citlali Medina. I live in District 6, and I have been living in Baltimore since 2009. I'm coming with the Baltimore Public Power campaign and also with Us For Us. And I'm coming here really pissed, just after reviewing this document. As was said before, this is a moral document, and our priorities in the wrong place. As we have this federal crisis where democracy is literally being destroyed before our eyes, I see Maryland Democrats as being corporately captured. Who do you think bankrolled MAGA? It's the same folks, right? So why is it that in 2026, our whole budget-making process is still completely controlled by the mayor and the Board of Estimates, and City Council still has no power? I believe, what was the amount? Less than 1% of the budget in the last 10 years has been affected by or influenced by the City Council. And I do want to talk through a little bit of the line items I saw. $4 million for energy relief. That's barely a drop in the bucket for people who are suffering from these BGE shareholder profits, because that's what they are. 20.1% of the utility budget increase due to inflation. We might as well call it double taxation for BGE shareholder profits, because that is what it is. We are subsidizing them. We're allowing them to charge us crazy amounts, data centers that are coming in. So anything less than community and local control of our energy utility is literally offering Baltimore's future on a platinum platter. I don't even want to say silver, platinum platter to these damn outside shareholders who don't care about anything that happens here. Next up, instead of funding millions of dollars for Israeli surveillance tech for the police budget, because that was also a line item for that increase, why is there no fiscal support for Baltimore Roundtable for Economic Democracy? They are doing critical work. Cooperatives really root businesses into a locale. And it's not shareholder profits in some other place. Like, people will care about their business and they will stay rooted. So I'll end this now with, now is the time to be bold in this democratic crisis that we are in at the federal level. It's time to have freaking cojones, right? And if we want to safeguard all these wins that Baltimore is getting, it's not just police. It's local control of our utilities, local development of cooperatives, and a truly democratic process. And I'm still waiting for that meeting, Councilperson Middleton.
Up next, we have Cookie Lynn, followed by Edna Williams, followed by Kelly Bigelow. Cookie Lynn, followed by Edna Williams, followed by Kelly Bigelow.
Hi guys, good afternoon. Thanks for having us. My name is Cookie Lynn. I work and I live in Baltimore City in District 8. I'm a founding member and a worker owner at Ceremony Piercing. I'm also a member of the International Association of Professional Piercers. I relocated to Baltimore in 2020 to work at a studio that shut down suddenly in 2023. It put myself and my 7 coworkers out of a job overnight. Shortly after that, my colleagues and I were introduced to BREAD, the Baltimore Roundtable of Economic Democracy that you guys have heard so much about tonight. We opened a new studio with them under a cooperative model. We're the very first worker cooperative in our industry, and since we've opened, we've been developing a blueprint and teaching other body art businesses how to reimagine traditional structures to share power, share profit, and support the local community that they're in. In this time, my colleagues have learned so much about shared governance and financial literacy through BREAD and the local Be More Economy Network. Ceremony is almost 2 years old now, and we fully believe in the model. Economic and workplace democracy creates more job opportunities. There's 30% less turnover than traditional business models, and it keeps capital local. Baltimore actually has more cooperatives per capita than any other city, And if we continue in this direction and we allocate the 2026 and 2027 funds to citywide cooperative development, we can continue to strengthen Baltimore's solidarity economy, support the taxpayers who work here and live here, and make Baltimore what it is. Thank you, guys.
Edna Williams.
So good evening. It's a long time since I've been in this room, but I'm called Grandmother Edna Williams in Baltimore City, and I'm here representing the seniors at the Waxter Senior Center. And we are the Waxter Warriors. Thank you, Jermaine Jones. I'm here because I just would like to know, where is the money that was allocated to keep that Waxter Center in place? It is a disgrace that we need $30 million to cover repairs that have not been fixed, but not only Brandon and his team, all the mayors. That building is in such disrepair till they're gonna close it down. Those seniors everywhere, no plans for us. Do you know seniors are committing suicide? Seniors are shut in, nowhere to go, no activities. And all of you representatives here have abused our money. I'm asking for contracts. I'm asking to see inspection records of who worked on that Waxter Center, who did repairs in that Waxter Center. That Waxter Center should not be in such a state of disrepair that they are closing it down and throwing us in the street. That building has, this is for you, I have copies of the history of the Waxter Center for every city councilman on this bench, because Elisha Tyson gave his life up for the protection of seniors in Baltimore City. He stopped this underground slave trade. He opened up a medical dispensary for free medicine in the 1800s. He also fought for the rights as a Quaker for seniors. I'm telling you, I knew Miss Waxter. That building was built in 1968. I don't know why it's not on the historic registry. It's just on Tyson Street. Weinberg's gym in our building is in the Tyson Tower. That building should be on the historic registry because of Mr. Elisha Tyson. I have records and research for every councilman there. You can get the top one to Z, because it's got Mr. He has the most of the paperwork there. But I'm just saying this. We are not going down disrespectful. I just want to know, do all of y'all see me? Can y'all see me? I want y'all to look over here. Can y'all see me? That's good, because y'all do not see the seniors in Baltimore City. Y'all letting us die in those rat traps y'all call senior housing. But this Waxter Center is what I'm here for tonight. I'm asking personally for a criminal investigation into the money and the funding that you guys have kept and not repaired our senior center. It's no way that we should be in a building that they telling us that the air conditioning system is so in disrepair that they got to close the building. The electrical system is in such disrepair. Where is that money that was allocated as a trust by Judge Waxter, who I know? Where is the funding that you guys have been responsible for down through the years for this center to be in such disrepair you got to close it? I want y'all to look at me. Y'all sitting up here looking at me, and y'all are closing a center that's the largest center probably in the country. It started out under medical needs for seniors. it developed into a community network for seniors. I have the only research and storytelling lab in any of the senior centers in Baltimore City and Baltimore County, and I was a woman commissioner. This is a disgrace for me to have to come down here tonight, 78 years old, and address a bunch of young people that probably was in elementary school when I was beginning to activate for our city. It is a disgrace that you guys let our senior center go in such disrepair.
Ms. Williams, we appreciate your testimony. Would you be able to provide your last statement at this time?
Thank you. I just want y'all to go to bed tonight and just think what you're going to do with your grandmothers when you throw them out on the street because they have nowhere to meet, eat, talk, smile, make a puzzle, make a hat, just come out of those shoe boxes that y'all trap us in and call it senior living. I want y'all should be shaming yourself, every one of y'all. Shaming yourself that I got to come and stand up here tonight and beg for a building that was clearly funded by Judge Waxer. He left the money. What did y'all do with the money? I know y'all don't need it for color TVs. And just to be clear, I am a retired taxpayer, 56 years in nursing, so y'all can know this. We are not going down without a fight. We are not.
Ms. Williams,
we are not going down.
Thank you for your
Thank you, and I
testimony.
apologize for my time, but every one of them get a copy of the history of the Waxer Center, because obviously none of y'all know. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for your testimony. Kelly Bigelow, followed by Taylor Smith-Hams, followed by Ami Dong. Kelly Bigelow, Taylor Smith-Hams, followed by Ami Dong.
Hello? Awa. First of all, grandmother Edna set me up perfectly. My name is Kelly Bigelow. I live in Liberty Square, and I always start off with the history of my family because everybody wants to tout my legacy, but not carry the work of the legacy. Vernon Dobson was my uncle. He helped start BUILD. He helped start Maryland Food Bank and the Goon Squad. Spencer Dobson is my grandfather. Harold Dobson was my uncle. Tamara Dobson was my second cousin. So I have legacy in this city. I want to piggyback off of Elder Edna, because if she's asking and calling for an investigation, and I'll be very clear, Councilman Blanchard, Councilwoman Middleton, Councilman Bullock, Councilwoman Porter, Councilman Gray, President Zeke Cohen, Councilman Conway, Councilman Ramos. I don't know you. Blanchard, so you all, you're Michael, you're Parker, blame it on the menopause. Then we have Councilman Jermaine, sorry for the last name, and my councilman, James Torrance. Who is absent is Ryan Dorsey, and he ought to be ashamed. He traditionally walks out when Black matriarchs get up and speak, yet he concludes a Transportation 101 graduation with pictures of Audre Lorde inhaling the black butterfly and redlining. That is a disgrace. On the tip of my elder's comment, if she is pushing for investigation, every single one of you should vote for the OIG to have access, and every single one of you all should answer Councilman Conway's plea to support him in finding a way. And if you do not, you are negligent. Now I'm gonna start. Good evening, Councilman President and members of the council, agency leaders, and fellow Baltimoreans. I came here tonight because residents in Liberty Square and across West Baltimore are tired of living inside policy decisions that nobody with real power will quietly accept in their own neighborhoods. We are tired of watching the same communities absorb concentrated transitional housing, recovery programs, behavioral health facilities, nuisance properties, vacancies, open-air drug activities, and chronic instability, while being told this is equity. It is not equity when the burden keeps landing on the same blocks. It is not equity when residents are left managing the fallout of fragmented systems with no clear accountability. And it is not equity when communities that have already survived redlining, divestment, predatory housing practices, mass vacancies, and generational economic instabilities are expected to quietly absorb even more concentrated hardship in the name of progress. Welcome back, Councilman Ryan.
Ms. Bigelow, we thank you for your testimony.
My name is Kelly Bigelow. I am here to ask that there be appropriations for an equity and impact study. These business models that have a disconnect in policy because the state manages the money and the funds that are given to these programs, but the city manages the housing and oversight. There is a disconnect. Because
Ms. Bigelow,
this
we
issue
appreciate
is
your
bigger.
testimony. Can you close out at this time, please?
This is also directly related to the zoning bills. 25066 is the last of them. 0062, 0063, 0064, 0065 all took place. And many residents see these bills as disconnected, and they're distracting, and their technical amendments harm us. That sounds minor on paper, but in neighborhoods already struggling with overcrowding, strained infrastructure,
Ms. Bigelow,
illegal
thank you for
dumping,
your testimony.
vacancy, and enforcement, and concentrated instability. I live in a neighborhood, young lady, with an open-air drug market.
We're going to
with
recess at this
overdosing.
time to recess.
I am
Thank you.
asking for my councilman who has been supported.
Welcome back to the Budget and Appropriations Committee. We are going to go back to our testimony. Next is going to be Taylor Smith-Hams. I'm asking everybody just a reminder that you had 3 minutes to testify. For anything over 3 minutes, you have the ability to provide written testimony at any time. Thank you. Taylor Smith-Hams.
Thanks. Hi, council members. My name is Taylor Smith-Hams. I'm a resident in District 14. I'm here today as a member of the Baltimore Public Power Campaign, which is an effort to replace BGE's exploitative monopoly with a publicly owned and accountable utility. As we've heard tonight, budgets are reflections of our values. But Baltimore City's budget has consistently valued policing and punishment over meeting people's needs. And this year is no different. But it doesn't have to be this way. Instead of dumping more money into policing and surveillance, Baltimore can invest in affordable housing, in green infrastructure, in education, in healthcare, in public art. You can make universities and hospitals pay their fair share in taxes and direct those excess resources towards things like community land trusts and cooperatives that actually build community wealth. You can invest in a publicly owned and publicly accountable electric grid and boot BGE's exploitative monopoly out of Baltimore. Our current budget process is undemocratic, Crucial decisions about how public money should be spent happen behind closed doors. We all know that Taxpayers Night is theater. Nothing we say here is going to change much. But you can help rebuild faith in city government and build toward a future where people's voices are actually listened to and where the budget reflects community needs. You can pass legislation to amend the city charter and make the budget process more democratic by giving yourselves more authority to allocate funds and to set parameters for how that money is spent. You can sign the No BGE pledge, like Council Members Conway, Porter, Blanchard, and Ramos already have, to reject campaign contributions from BGE. And make it clear to your constituents that you stand with us and not with a monopoly for-profit corporation that is bleeding all of us dry. These are real, tangible steps that each of you can take right now to make budgeting and governance in this city more democratic and less beholden to corporate interests. And by taking them, you can chip away at the very real cynicism that many people in this city feel towards the political process. And then maybe the next Taxpayers Night won't just be theater. Maybe it will actually be a participatory budget process as it should be. Thank you.
Thank you. Amy Dang.
Good evening. My name is Ami Dang, and I live in the Waverly neighborhood in Baltimore City in District 4. I'm an artist and arts administrator, and I'm in the process of developing Laverne's, a new worker-owned cooperative and live music venue in the Charles North neighborhood in District 7. I'm here to request support for the Baltimore Roundtable for Economic Democracy and the development of worker-owned cooperatives in Baltimore City. In the arts and entertainment sector, over the years, countless artists and cultural organizers presented DIY performances and cultural events in spaces they lived and worked in. But due to a lack of code compliances in these spaces, many of them shut down over the last decade, which has left a significant lack of cultural activity, providing opportunities for local artists to connect with communities and for space for communities to share joyful, transformative experiences together. Many of these organizers did not have access to capital or the know-how to address code compliance, code requirements, and launch legitimate businesses for cultural activity to thrive. The creation of worker-owned cooperative arts venues offers cultural workers the opportunity to collectively own and operate legitimate live music venues. The cooperative I'm working on, Laverne's, slated to open later this year, has been receiving technical support from Baltimore Roundtable for Economic Democracy. However, co-ops cannot thrive in our city without deeper support from you all. City support for worker-owned cooperatives, however, will go far beyond the cultural economy. In a city with a poverty rate of more than 20%, it seems almost impossible for many people to break out of the cycle of poverty. However, worker-owned cooperatives offer a critical opportunity for people to build community wealth. Across all sectors, cooperatives empower people through democratic ownership. They promote decent work, gender equality, food security, social protection, and sustainability. There are over 1 billion cooperative members across the world. That's about 12% of the worldwide population. Co-ops are helping to reduce poverty and inequality while building strong local economies. Baltimore is a leader in the cooperative movement in the United States, with more than 35 cooperatives operating at the present and about 2 new cooperatives in development. I request that the city commit funding towards Baltimore Roundtable for Economic Democracy and Cooperative Development in the coming budget year. Thank you.
Thank you. We have next Bobby Marinelli, followed by Kim Smith, followed by Angela Valentine. So Bobby Marinelli, followed by Kim Smith, followed by Angela Valentine.
Thank you. Thank you. Good evening. My name is Bobby Marinelli. I am a 30-year Baltimore City Schools teacher and the proud father of 2 children who attended Baltimore City schools K through 12. I've got 3 minutes, 180 seconds. That's all it took. That's all I'm going to take. On May 24th, 2022, a gunman entered Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, Texas. Within 3 minutes of entering the building, he fired more than 100 rounds from his weapon. He murdered 19 children and 2 teachers. Earlier, he was seen outside the building firing his weapon, and the school went into lockdown mode. So how did he get in? He entered through a door which cannot be locked from the inside. A decade earlier, on December 14, 2012, a gunman entered Sandy Hook Elementary School in Newtown, Connecticut. He moved from classroom to classroom, firing his weapon. Within 3 minutes, he murdered 20 children and 6 adult staff. How was he able to do that? The classroom doors did not lock from the inside. The Sandy Hook Commission made several recommendations for safety measures. Their primary and most strident recommendation was classroom doors that could lock from the inside. The vast majority of Baltimore City public school classrooms do not have doors that can be locked from the inside. On September 24th, 2024, I spoke to the Baltimore City School Commissioners about this issue. At the end of that meeting, I was asked to be part of a task force to examine door locks, make recommendations. I served on that task force. We identified a lock. We identified the need. We were told that construction would begin soon. Exactly 1 year ago today, I was informed a budget issue had shelved the project and they would get back to us. It's been more than 18 months since that meeting. Nothing has happened. I've just spent about 3 minutes talking to you about door locks. I am begging the City Council to work together with Baltimore City Public Schools, identify a funding source to purchase and install locks on classroom doors that can be functional from the inside. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Marinelli.
Hi, good evening, Council. Am I, okay? All right. My name is Kim Smith. I'm the COO of Powell Recovery Center in East Baltimore, and we've been there in that same location for the last 33 years. Powell's message is that Baltimore should continue to invest in the kinds of treatment, care coordination, and practical data that uses to help people stay alive, stay engaged, and avoid preventable use of emergency services, including the emergency room and hospital, as well as re-involvement in the criminal justice system. We have also learned that better data can help providers and public systems respond earlier. Powell has built a data warehouse that connects treatment information, client surveys, emergency department visits, pharmacy, lab, criminal justice involvement, and vital records data to help us understand risks sooner and improve care in real time. We are working with clients who have multiple visits to the emergency room department to engage them with caring primary care physicians. We now have criminal justice history for our active clients, and we are analyzing justice involvement as one part of the larger client story, alongside homelessness, emergency department use, clinical and demographic information, and treatment engagement. We identify, see patterns earlier. We have a better chance to intervene, preserve client progress, prevent overdose, and reduce repeated, unnecessary, high-cost system involvement. Powell wants Baltimore to be a leader in practical, compassionate, data-informed treatment for the opioid epidemic. Powell is here as a willing partner to bring much-needed practice-based evidence to shape better treatment, intervene more effectively, and save lives. We thank you for the opportunity to hear us out tonight, and thank you for your consideration.
Minister Angela Valentine. Okay, we have 2 additional people registered, David Lids and Yesenia Lids.
Good evening, council members. My name is David Lids, and I am a worker owner at Appalachian Field Services, AFS. AFS started way back in the aughts. We were a scrappy crew fresh out of jail or rehab, grinding our way back into the economy through the work of maintaining vacant houses, which is another way of saying for 2 decades we have seen West Baltimore's gorgeous but crumbling row homes not as blight, but as opportunity. Opportunity to create all kinds of amazing jobs and careers in construction, finance, project management, property management, media, and even government advocacy. See what I did there? Somewhere along the way, it occurred to us that the institutions hiring us to trash out and board up homes didn't care much about us or the amazing impact we were creating, and certainly didn't care about Baltimore's disinvested neighborhoods. We thought, you know what? We could become developers ourselves. We could rebuild these blocks the right way. We could create dignified, affordable housing. We could create generational real estate wealth. And we could do it in a way that makes sure we are including the folks who are always the ones that get excluded or displaced. What we had stumbled our way into thinking about is cooperative economics. An epiphany that led us to the Baltimore Roundtable for Economic Democracy. Brad helped us figure out how to start and run a cooperative. Brad financed this neighborhood equity fever dream we were tripping on. Partnering with Brad, our cooperative has now channeled more than $7 million of mission-aligned investment into neighborhoods like Park Circle and Sandtown Winchester and Franklintown Road. We have used that money to purchase 30 row homes before the speculators and the slumlords got to them. We've completed 20 of those properties. They're fully complete, dignified, beautiful renovations. Some of them are high-efficiency green retrofits. We now have 25 worker owners who enjoy solid living wages, folks who have rocketed from living on the margins of the economy to being the baddest ass row home rehabbers in all of the Americas. Seriously, we're really good now. Our 20 homes house, or will house, our 20 finished homes will soon house 24 families. Those are vacant properties that were sucking away Baltimore City revenues and now are paying property taxes. I'm hoping that the through line is clear. What we saw, that fever dream in West Baltimore, we knew that collectively we could build something good. If Brad hadn't been there for us, all the impact that we have created in the last 7 years would never have been. And what's really cool, you know who's asking us to come teach them stuff? Pittsburgh, Detroit, Chicago. They're looking at Baltimore as a model of what you can do to turn vacants into impactful resources. Thank you, council members, for your time. We're really excited to be here tonight. And now we turn it over to the Presidenta.
Good evening. My name is Yesenia Lids, Senior Finance Coordinator for Appalachian Field Services. I work with our construction workers, owners, every day. Many of our workers are immigrants, people from the neighborhood, people coming back from addictions, or people rebuilding their lives after prison, and young people trying to find a good career in construction. In our cooperative, we help each other with things that normally either never get done or only get done through public programs or nonprofits. We help people get driver license, understand utility bills, use payroll apps, open bank accounts, read leases, etc. These might sound like small things, but they help people keep jobs, build stable lives, and become part of the local economy. We also teach workers that they are not just employees, they are owners. They have voice, they can vote, join committees, and help make decisions. Many of our immigrant workers have been treated badly in this country before we met them. Pick up in parking lots for hard labor, put in dangerous situations, sometimes after whole week of hard work, drop off far from home without the pay they were promised, and are left to find their own way back. They were expected to work hard, but never invited to lead, never asked what they think, never treated like their ideas or experiences matter. In our cooperative, we ask people to speak up, to help lead groups, projects, and meetings. We are also seeing Latina workers step into leadership in construction spaces where women are often overlooked. For many people, this is the first time they have experienced this kind of dignity, respect, and ownership at work. Thank you, councilor members, for hearing us. Cooperatives help people support each other, make neighborhoods stronger, and create opportunity that stays in the community. We are urging you to support cooperative development in Baltimore. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to double back to Minister Angela Valentine. Yes, ma'am. No apologies necessary.
I've been working out. Sorry. Okay. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I apologize. Hi, my name is Minister Angela Valentine. I'm also the CEO of the Billionaire Girls Women's Club. I'm going to read from my phone so I won't forget anything, if that's okay with you guys. So here we go. Good evening, everyone. My name is Angela Valentine, founder and CEO of the Billionaire Girls Women's Club Corporation. At first, I want to thank you for allowing me this opportunity to stand before you today. Over the past several years, our organization has worked directly with Baltimore City and surrounding communities to serve individuals and families who are often overlooked and underserved. Our mission has always been centered around compassion, dignity, mentorship, restoration, and human connection. Through our outreach efforts, we have provided food to those in need, connected individuals to support programs, and created mentorship opportunities for veterans, women, and returning citizens, and at-risk youth. Much of this work has been funded personally and out of pocket, which has limited how far we have been able to expand our outreach. Even those limitations, we have continued to show up for our community because we believe every person deserves to be seen, valued, and supported. One thing I want to make very clear today is that for us, food is not just food. Food is how we connect, how I connect to the community. They call me Aunt Angie in Park Heights, 21215. That's who they call me, okay? Food is how we build trust. Food is how we restore dignity. This is intentionally behind the way we serve. When we provide, I'm looking at the time, when we provide a meal, we are also checking on a person's mental wellness, physical condition, emotional state, and whether they are safe. We use food to the bridge of mentorship, relationship, building, and long-term support. We believe that a proper nutrition is not a luxury, it is a form of dignity, care, and human respect. I'm gonna stop reading because I'm an outreach minister. I go out in them streets. When don't nobody else go out there when it's below zero, I'm out there in them trenches helping with the Narcan and all that other stuff. Don't nobody help come out there and fund nothing. And I know I'm running out of time, 35 seconds, but I need help. We do this from the bottom of my heart, me and Brother Joseph. We have an aquarium of bees up at Arlington Elementary. Y'all welcome to come see it. We help. This is what I'm here for, you know, for outreach and help. I don't mind cooking and I feed the whole community. Everybody knows me. So I'm here for the support and for y'all to listen. And also, we're doing an event at City Ranch on May the 30th. So we can raise money to help save the City Ranch where the ponies be at the city, that we come out to the city and the county, and I'm out of time. So I want y'all all to support us. Thank you for allowing me to speak. All right.
Thank you for your testimony. I want to double back to two people who were signed up, and just to double check if they're here. I have Diane Williams as well as Leo Hernandez. Okay. Well, that's going to close out our testimony. We want to thank everyone who came in today to testify. At this time, I'm going to turn the floor over to Council President Z. Cohen for any closing remarks.
Thank you all for coming out. Very much appreciate the folks that stayed and everyone that came and testified tonight. And we look forward to seeing you soon at our upcoming budget hearings. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye. Thank you, Madam Chair.
I'd like to thank everybody for participating this evening. Your comments have been heard. Members of the City Council do appreciate you taking the time to share your thoughts on this budget. In the meantime, the Budget and Appropriations Committee budget hearings will start on Wednesday, May the 27th, and end on June the 3rd. The full budget hearing schedule is available on the City Council's website at baltimore.legistar.com. I also want to thank all of the staff members that participated, as well as our public safety officers and our security officers as well this evening. We are now in recess.